Hi, everybody. I'm Fabio, and this is my lovely wife, Carolyn. We met in college many years ago and fell in love. And initially, we had the plan of not having kids. We got married and we stick to that plan. But here we are 13 years later, 13 wonderful years later, and we have a wonderful dog and four incredible kids, our four little oranges. And we decided we wanted to do something where we can share our life experiences, our thoughts on different things that we come across, our parenting, just generally share some of our ideas and thoughts that we come across. So we thought it would be a good idea to put together a YouTube channel. So this is our first take at it, and we'll see how this goes. We have a few things we want to share with you. Some of the stuff is going to be just ad lib. Other things that we're gonna script some ideas that we want to share with you. But hopefully you'll find the content very useful and things that you might want to have your own comments about. And we certainly welcome your input and your ideas and to share anything that you want to add to whatever we're talking about. So with that,
The first thing we were thinking we would
yeah,
talk about would be a parenting issue that I'm sure many people go through. But I was talking to Fabio earlier how it's interesting how when there's topics of your children, people are very, very sensitive about it. So, what we're wanting to talk about today is how our two oldest, who are 8 and 5, constantly are at each other. They're like water and oil. So, I tell Fabio when he's at work, because I'm a stay at home mom, so I stay home with the kids. And they are, no matter what I do. And let me tell you, I try different things. I try to do crafts with one. The other one can do something that they like, whether it's Legos. I try to keep them separated, which is great. But of course, they have to eventually come together. And when they're together, it's like they're always nitpicking each other. So when I'm out on the rare occasion, like we're talking to other parents, I try to get a vibe from them and see what their experiences are. And it's funny or interesting or however you want to put word you want to put in there is that no one really has that same problem. We went to go get our kids' haircuts and we were talking with people there, and they were like, yeah, our kids are about 3 years apart, which are like ours. So I said, how did they get along when they were this age? Oh, they got along great. I'm like, really? Like, sometimes you really do feel isolated, like you're the only person and obviously it's not true, but many times what you see, whether it's Facebook or anywhere else, it's like, oh, our kids are so great. And then you look at your life and you're like, wait, but what am I doing wrong? Like I tell Fabio, what am I doing wrong? Like you feel like you're not a good parent, and you really do try your best, and you sit down with them and you talk with them. You're trying to be yelling in their face, and they're like, okay, we're gonna do well. And when they're by themselves, it's a different story.
yeah,
It's
individually
when
they're perfectly fine, but
right.
then when you put them together side by side or even just in the same room, you're going to have about 8 to 10 minutes between before the sparks start flying, and there's going to be problems between two of them, and sometimes it's nothing very significant. It is just a minor little disagreement that becomes a huge thing,
I mean, it's
and
really never significant. It's
yeah,
always like, oh, well, you got one more grade, but why are you looking at me like that? And it just blows up. And as a kid, like I have other siblings, I don't ever remember fighting as much as my two older kids. I just don't. And I mean, Fabio's siblings are so much older than him, so I
yeah.
guess it's
My
different.
closest sibling is 7 years apart, so we didn't have this kind of um, this kind of bickering and fighting, or even just growing up quite the same way. We were in different stages in our lives growing up, so it didn't quite pan out the same way as our kids are. But I feel like whenever we talk to parents in very similar situations, they almost, I don't know, they gloss over it. I don't know if it's that they're don't want to talk about it or they're embarrassed about it. I don't know what it is, but
Right.
I find it very hard to believe that we're the only real parents that kind of have this issue. But yet, you'll come across parents who have much older kids. Their kids are already in their 30s or even older, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, my kids were always fighting." When they were younger, they were always bickering, or whether it was about the same toys or just generally being in the same room, they would
Right.
get into a fight. But with contemporary parents who are about our ages, and their kids are about our kids' ages, they're responses typically are our kids get along fine. They don't ever really bicker. They don't
But I
have
guess it's also
problems.
like if you're not real close to them, I feel like maybe they just don't want to express that to you, or maybe very well their kids don't get along. But I do have some close friends that when I do talk to them about it, they're like, I totally understand. So you don't feel like you're the only person that's going through it, which I know a lot of times it is very lonely as a parent because it is. Many times it is embarrassing, I guess, to say this is what all my kids are doing because it does as much as you don't want to feel that way, it does reflect upon you. You feel like you're not doing a good job even though you very well may be. You just feel that way. But then there are other times at the same in the same token is that they do get along. It's like it's night and day. Like sometimes I guess it just depends on how they wake up. They're like help each other and they love each other and they hug each other, and other times they don't. It's the craziest thing.
We're basically trying to figure out what is the formula for them to be able to get along all the time. And I don't know that there really is. I don't.
Right.
We've certainly not figured it out, but I think we've tried different things. And Carolyn being a stay-at-home mom, I think she's fantastic at coming up with various ideas to keep them occupied, keep their mind growing, keep them busy, and keep them from trying to bicker with one another, and even at the same time learn ways to cope
Right.
with being together and disagreeing on things. But we find that our kids certainly drain a lot of our energy in trying to get them to cooperate on even very basic things like sharing a set of crayons or sitting down on the same couch without having to kick each other or fight over the amount of space that one has over the other. So, like I said, I don't, we're trying to figure out what is that formula, but at the same time, our kids are growing and they're changing, they're developing themselves, and they're trying to establish their own position in, at home, at school, as part of the family. So it's a constant evolving thing, and we're trying to create this formula, and it doesn't quite fit into the
It just
pieces.
doesn't ever, because they're always growing, they're always evolving, which is what we want. I think at the end of the day, we just want them to have a close relationship. And it's hard to tell now. They're 5 and they're 8. Who knows how it is when they get older? But I think that what we want, our goal is for our children to eventually be close, which I think is what everybody wants.
Yeah.
But on to the next topic. So this is a quick topic that I do want to talk about is the whole dog etiquette thing. So we have a dog. Our dog, it's totally off to what we were talking about before, but our dog is 13 years old. He's a mix. He's a Rottweiler German Shepherd. Amazing. The only thing that I would complain about him is that he sheds. So we're dog owners. All that to say that I think this is why we want to talk about this. So I guess we want to know what other people's thoughts are.
Yeah. We live in a community where you have to have your dog on a leash whenever they're outside. You can't leave them unattended. You can't leave them out on the deck or a porch or just wandering, the yard or anything like that. You have to have them on a leash at all times, and they also need to be licensed or whatever.
You need to
have a
pick up
license.
after your dog.
Yeah, of course.
Which is only natural. So this is what I think, which I think everybody should know, is that you don't allow your dog to go to the bathroom in any way, number 1 or number 2, in the front of somebody's yard, on the side of somebody's yard, and in the back. I would think that's common etiquette,
Simple, right?
However, I think that I'm in the minority because many times you see people right in your front yard having their dog go to the bathroom there. Is that not inappropriate? Is it not, like, I feel like it's common sense if their kids, obviously kids are going, and we have common space, which is this open area where you can go and have your dog go to the bathroom, not directly behind, where my deck is. So we always have that issue, and especially now that it's snowing outside or was snowing, you can see where the dogs are going to the bathroom, which are so close. And I guess my thing is I don't understand what people's mindset is, because I'm pretty sure that if I took my dog to the front of these people's yards, they would not appreciate it. So I kind of wonder, why are you coming? It's so much space. What is it that you have to be so close to somebody's private property to have their dog go to the bathroom? I just don't get it. It bothers me. And if I do see somebody, like we had a couple houses down the way, I had to tell the lady. She would actually see me pull into my driveway and her dog would be urinating right on the bush right next to my car. Really? Like, I don't think it's asking much, but I did ask her very nicely. I said, can you please have your dog urinate someplace else? And she was like, okay, but did I really have to say that? Sometimes I just wonder about that because I just feel like I would not dare do that to somebody. I just feel like that's disrespectful. And I have a dog.
We have a lot of dogs in this neighborhood, in this community, and there's actually, in fact, a dog park, around a pond, and designated just for dogs. It's a dog park. And there's also several areas along the walkways where there are receptacles and trash bags for dogs. Yet, people will still bring their dogs to the very edge of someone's property and even transgress on somebody's property and have their dog, do their business there. And it's kind of weird. Having our dog, I certainly look out for other people's property as well. And just, general etiquette of my dog has plenty of space to go out on the common areas, or even the space between the sidewalk and the street, which in our neighborhood is actually very wide. It's much wider than most other neighborhoods. So there's plenty of space there for a dog to do its business. But yet people will still go. Oh, and the other one that I also have a problem with is letting their dog go either very near a kids, park, a tot lot, or even go into the tot lot to play around there. So that drives me insane, despite the fact that there are many clear signs in our community that say, do not allow your dog to go without a leash. Do not let your dog go inside the tot lot. Clean up after your dog and that sort of stuff. But
Right.
The fact that people will do that, they will have their dogs just playing in the tot lot, where kids are coming in and kids' equipment and stuff like that. I think that's a breach of etiquette. I think that's a big no-no. And I certainly would never let my dog, but I feel, and I agree with Carol, I feel like we're in the minority when we wouldn't do that. But then if we see somebody doing that and we carefully, in a nice manner, say, I don't think it's appropriate for you to be doing it, or you shouldn't be doing that.
Right.
Please don't do that. Anything along those lines. And we're usually the ones that are kind of like, we get the stink eye, or we get the look of like, why don't you mind your own business?
But it doesn't stop us for standing our ground. We say it in a polite way because obviously we don't want to be rude and everybody is different. But there are certain things that we do believe, like, really? Like, isn't that sort of a common thing? But clearly it's not. So we continue with our dog etiquette struggle and we will continue to do so.
Yeah.
So there are 2 topics for today. And we hope to see you, even if it's just one person. Maybe it's just going to be us looking at it, which is great because this is fun. This is something different. So we will see you next time.
Yeah, we want to be able to share as much as we can. I think this is just our first video to kind of get our faces out there, our voices, and kind of get some feedback from other people about what they think of what we've shared this time. We certainly will have more as time goes on, and we'll have more videos uploading. And some might be longer, some might be shorter, some might be angrier, some might be happier. There's various things that we want to be able to share about what we go through every day, what kind of comes up, what's in current media issues, celebrity marriages and engagements.
Just things that we talk about
anything
in our
that comes
kitchen
up
is something that we're just like, you know what, this is fun, this is different. So why not just talk about it on YouTube?
Yeah, and on occasion you will see us as our common evening tradition is we eat oranges at night. So,
right, which is part of the 4 oranges because I love oranges, right?
Yeah, so you'll probably be seeing us doing that, and you give us your comments about that. So for now, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully you watched all the way to the end. And we look forward to sharing some more information with you guys into the future.
Have a great day.
Bye.